Hello everyone and welcome to my tutorial. In this video, I'll show you how I follow my cross-stitch pattern on Etsy. While this method works well for me, it might not suit everyone. I'll also share the basics I have learned over the years. My pattern that I sell on Etsy comes in 2 PDFs. One pattern is compatible with Pattern Keeper app. I printed out so you can see an example of it. It comes in only black and white symbol and also comes with a thread colors that you can see. The second PDF includes various formats. It comes in color blocks. Let's see. It comes with symbol on color blocks, black and white symbol, color symbol, a page map, and thread sorter. This way, you can choose format that works best for you. Personally, I love using symbol on color blocks because sometimes when you print out papers like this, the color doesn't reflect too well, so I still prefer using color blocks and symbol together. I'll keep this video short and sweet, so let's get started. For this project, I'm using a 14 count Aida cloth in white. I purchased this Aida cloth from Facebook Marketplace because it comes in a bunch and I thought it was worth it. Next is your hoop. This is a 6-inch hoop. My pattern fits into 8-inch hoop, but this is all I have, so I'm going to use this instead. Tapestry needle. I find it ideal for cross-stitching, and the best part of it is it has a rounder end and it doesn't poke my finger as much or as hard as the other ones. Pens. I use pen for marking the paper and marking the fabric. I like this soluble pen. It's from Cricut. Scissors. You don't have to use 2 scissors, but I like to keep one fabric scissors strictly for fabric and one to cut the thread. I put them separately and I never mix them both together. Lastly is threads. I like DMC thread because it is smoother than other threads. First, choose thread colors that closely match those in your pattern, or use the exact colors. Remember, using different colors will result in a slightly different final look. For this project, I will be focusing on this little guy because he is in the middle. Next, from what I mentioned earlier, I would like to talk about hoops. My pattern fits an 8-inch hoop, but since I don't have one, I will be using a 6-inch hoop. The hoop size only matters if you plan to keep your project in the hoop permanently. Now let's focus on the fabric. First, I measure out my fabric, ensuring it's larger than needed because it's easier to trim excess fabric than to work with too little. Now I'm going to find the center of the fabric by folding the fabric twice. Now on to the fun part, counting and stitching. From the center, following the red center line in the pattern, and for individual pattern like this one, I count the blocks down to the bottom of this individual pattern. In this case, the first stitch will be black. And from the center down to this one, the bottom, it's 11 blocks. And it starts with a black thread. And with the same thing, I'm gonna go from this center down 11. So from the center of this cross down over here, it's 11 blocks. And let me show you how do I see the blocks. So this is the most I can zoom. Let me try even. Yeah, this is the most I can zoom. So let me move closer to the thing. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You have to really look at it to see it from the texture, from the camera, through the camera. But once you have it, you can see the difference, and it's easier. It's much easier. Do remember that there are other ways that it's much more efficient than this way, but fortunately this is the way that works really well for me because I like to jump straight into a project. In this case, the first stitch is black, so I'll be using black thread first. I will measure it to my elbow from my finger holding it like this, all the way to my elbow. And I will cut it. Now, you are welcome to use a longer length as long as you can manage it. But if the thread is too long, it might get tangled halfway through. So any length you prefer. I just like to do it, measure it to my elbows because it's easier. Next, so don't use the whole thread like this. It's way too chunky for any type of project. What I like to do is I like to separate them. Let me see. Separate them like that. So one thread contains 6 skinnier thread, and I like to pull out only, so 6, halfway 6 is 3. I like to pull out 3 like this, and just pull them apart. And don't toss this away. Use it for the next row or the next time. Now threading it, some people might find it gross, but if you're just sewing this for yourself, hey, you can just lick it, wet it with your mouth and just thread it. Or you can also keep water beside and dip into the water and thread it. Now, once you thread it, you don't have to pull it evenly as the first tail. You can just leave it like this as long as it stays secure. Now, from the back to the front, I like to go from the right to the left with my project. So, start with the 11th stitch over here. Oops. From the back to the front. Now, again, don't pull all the way through. Leave a tail in the backs, just slightly enough, so when you go back, you can catch the tail. Let me show you. I hold the tail down with my hand like this. Just hold it down. Go to the one that's across from the first hole and underneath the tail. See? Okay, like this. Ooh, now this is the fun part. You're gonna catch the tail now. So go, I hope I can show you more. So when you go back to the other hole, you see how you go across it, and it's enough for you to catch the tail in the back. So you don't even need to tie the tail. You can just leave it like that and eventually you catch, and it stays there pretty securely. Let me see, is it? See? It just hold the tail right there. But I will still hold the tail until there's 2 or more thread. Again the same thing. Go across the hole. Enough to catch the tail. Make sure it's on top. It's like, imagine this looks like Plankton's hair, the antenna he has. It looks kind of like it if you ask me. You don't have to flip back and forth like I do. Once you cross stitch long enough, or you've been doing long enough, you don't have to worry about that. You just feel with your finger and you just know. I'm gonna finish the first row and I'll be right back and show you how I go back. Now I'm done going from right to left. I'm going to go from left to right. Same exactly way, just opposite. And since the tail is already catched from the other side, I don't need to hold it down or make sure I catch it anymore because it's already secure in place. Important note, when you're pulling the thread, you don't have to yank it. I'd like to pretend that I'm in Disney. I pretend I'm some Disney princess, and I just do it so elegantly. Just let it flow. Now that I'm done with the first row, I'm going to move on to the next one. Remember, this is your art, so follow your heart. But one important tip, if the second row is, let's say I'm here, right? If the second row is too far, I don't recommend you to jump it across and do the stitch over here because it's just gonna look chunky. I would suggest you to cut the thread or move to the closest stitch right here. Personally, I find the back of your work is as important as the front or half as important, and you don't want a chunky mess on the back. Some people might disagree with me saying just don't turn the art around, you don't want to look at the back of project. But for me, I like to keep it as neat as possible so it's easier to work with. Now I'm going to do the second row because I'm right here, right? Axolot. I'm gonna go with this one, the second row, the first stitch, which is 1, 2. My thread did get tangled in the back earlier, but I'm just gonna leave it be. I will be more careful next time, but I'm filming, so I'm going to focus on filming. Now that this row is done, I'm going to move on to the next one. So on and so forth until I reach the top, and I will just keep going around until my thread is finished. I will thread the second half of the thread that I pulled apart earlier and finish all until I finish all the black one on the axolot. Now that I have finished this axolot, I'm moving on to my next character, which is this duck. I'll count the last stitch at the bottom of the axolot and match it with the starting stitch for the duck, which is right here. And from the beginning, I'll count down to the last stitch again since I work from right to left. However, many blocks will reflect on the fabric as well. And if you are using a smaller hoop like I am, unscrew the top, move the fabric to the desired spot, and then tighten it again. For the sake of this video, we'll consider this project done. Let me show you the back of my project. I think it looks really decent and flat. Everything has its own place. Another tip, if you ever feel tired or rushed, take a break. Enjoying the process is just as important as the final product. I hope you learned something new from this video. Please check out my Etsy shop for more patterns. Thanks for watching and goodbye.